Damascus. But Vanessa, we're going to kick off with the situation of the wildfires in Hawaii.
Yes, we are. Absolutely sort of horrifying and fascinating story in equal parts. The first thing that I'm going to do is just to show a clip of a video that I would recommend that everybody does watch. It has some quite interesting, sensible information in it. But let's just roll the first clip just to get an idea of the devastation.
Survivors of the Maui fire say that they received no warning and that the flames appeared so quickly that escape was difficult. Everything was suddenly in flames, and many found refuge in the ocean for hours while their homes burned to the ground and into the same powdery ash footprint we've seen in recent years. So far, it is estimated that nearly 1,000 people have died. Locals are worried this includes hundreds of children who were home due to school being canceled that day. Several people are reporting that the government is not only doing little to help, but they are blocking local efforts to do so and are not allowing local donations through, and that they are blocking life-saving medicine because it isn't federally approved.
Denying people access to bring in supplies, just supplies for people to live.
The government withholding every single one of our donations because we are not a part of FEMA and Red Cross. So none of this is eligible for giving out. Tell me why? I have no freaking clue.
The people of Maui are on their own for now. And aside from the federal government's bureaucratic failure, they have good reason to be suspicious. Just like what we saw 5 years ago in Paradise, California, there was nothing normal about these fires. Within a day of burning, it was like a bomb went off.
When you see the full extent of the destruction of Lahaina, it will shock you. It does appear like a bomb and fire went off, if I may. And all of those buildings virtually are going to have to be rebuilt. It will be a new.
Yeah, sort of horrifying scenes. This was an eyewitness testimony that was kind of getting passed around on Facebook. I checked it out and found it on the LinkedIn of Dr. Kathy J. Forty, who was in Maui when the fire broke out. If we just have a quick look, Mike, through the slides of her testimony. So she points out that as soon as they reached Lahaina, all power got zapped. Cell phone, internet, traffic lights, GPS, the 911 emergency system, which is never supposed to go down, and the power outage caused every store and shopping mall to immediately close. Nothing was open. It's worth pointing out that even now there is a 12-mile media-free zone around Lahaina itself. No evacuation sirens went off on the day that the fires began. That was mentioned in the video. They failed as well. Maui has, or Hawaii has, one of the largest emergency alert systems in the world, worth pointing that out as also. Now, she makes an interesting point based on what many people are claiming about what started the fires. She said that she personally experienced a strange flooding wave of energy in her head, almost like a seizure activity, both on the morning of the fire and the night before. Now, she does actually say that historic Lahaina was a large old Hawaiian community that was in the way of corporate developers. Now it's like ground zero, declared a disaster area. And as she says, quite rightly, I think, they will undoubtedly blame it all on climate change and welcome in the developers to totally bulldoze and level it. Then let's move on and just see, basically, Maui's emergency services chief resigned after facing criticism for not activating the sirens. He claimed that the sirens were not activated because they would have pushed people towards inland territory and the mountains, and in his view would have pushed them into the path of the fire. Hawaii Governor Josh Green says the state is looking to acquire the land that was destroyed in the fires. He also says that apparently they are not entertaining the idea of foreign purchasers. He announced that the administration was considering acquiring properties in the seaside resort town of Lahaina that had been destroyed. He vowed to prevent foreign buyers apparently from swooping in to exploit the tragedy, suggesting that the state was better suited to take control of the land. There are reports from many residents and people living there as holiday homes that they are receiving calls from realtors. Now, many people have mentioned the fact that Hawaii was targeted to be a smart island. There was a conference back in January 2023, and this conference was planned for September 2023 in Maui. It's now been relocated, as you can see, to Honolulu, the Hawaii Digital Government Summit. Now, when you go to their website, they immediately put a disclaimer out saying that misleading social media posts have been circulating, falsely asserting that the Hawaii Digital Government Summit, which is now held in Honolulu, they say each year, it was originally to be in Maui, is aimed at transforming Maui into the first smart island. Well, they're putting out this disclaimer very quickly, but let's have a look at the history of smart island projects in Maui. So first of all, this is from the IEEE SMC 2023 Maui, Hawaii conference, the one that we're talking about, that will be held in Honolulu. People can freeze frame this. The writing is very small and they can look at the various names on there, but I've just taken a few out, Mike, on the next slide. So the 2023 IEEE Conference on Systems, Man and Cybernetics. So first of all, Professor Matarek's talk on personalized human-robot interaction examines how robots can improve the quality of life of users of various ages who need assistance. Professor Herrera's talk focuses on trust in artificial intelligence, a must-have characteristic when AI is employed in healthcare, government, justice, and daily life. Dr. Howard will share his decades of expertise in advancing AI systems in the defense and healthcare sectors, focusing on using genetic programming to solve the core problem of explainable AI. Professor Yingzhu Wang will address basic research in autonomous AI and symbiotic human-machine systems underpinned by contemporary intelligent mathematics. So it gets interesting here. So during the period between 2011 and 2016, there had been a smart community project called JUMPSmartMaui, JSM, held in the island of Maui, Hawaii in the US, with the objective of effective utilization of renewable energy that had been penetrating on a larger scale and widespread deployment of electric vehicles. A smart community was constructed by Hawaiian and Japanese stakeholders, headed by the New Energy and Industrial Technology Development Organization, NEDO of Japan. Smart community is a social system that integrates advanced environmental and energy technologies and provides citizens belonging to the community with sustainable, safe, and secure society. And then let's have a look at the diagram. I will send the link of the PDF for this project to be put up in the show notes. But this is just a breakdown, basically. You can see on the left that NEDO is working with Hitachi, I can't read the bank, and the Cyber Defense Institute.
That's
and in the US,
Mizuho Bank. So I guess that's a Japanese bank.
Yes, on the left are all the Japanese collaborators, and on the right, the US, which are predominantly Hawaii-based universities. And you can see when you freeze frame and zoom in the various projects that were being worked on. And as I say, you can go to the PDF and read all about it. And then moving on, interesting that a lot of the university pages covering the kind of the Smart Island project for Maui have been taken down from the web and can't be found even on the Wayback Archive machine. Just moving on, mate. Since COVID, this is quite interesting. Hawaii home sales over 10 million, a lot over 10 million when I've looked into this, have grown sixfold billionaires like Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates has large investments in hotels in the Hawaii region, Pierre Omidyar. So the entire billionaire complex has pivoted towards property in Hawaii post-COVID. Then let's look at what Biden's up to. So after his no comment at his Delaware beach home last weekend, Biden's response to Maui will be key. He's planning to visit the Maui disaster zone on Monday. And how much money has he offered to Maui residents? $700 to Maui fire victims, which sparks backlash, calling it insulting. As Carrie Lake pointed out, it's $900 per household to fund the proxy war in Ukraine. $113 billion has been sent by the Biden administration to Ukraine to maintain the proxy war against Russia. Now, then I sort of thought, well, I'm going to have a very quick look into if there are any other such fires going on in islands that have been targeted as smart islands in the future. Remembering, of course, we talked about the Greek wildfires a couple of weeks ago that were in the footprint of proposed wind farm projects. So, funnily enough, I found in Tenerife that out-of-control wildfires are raging in Tenerife. And then moving on, I think there's some more information. The fires currently have a perimeter of 33 kilometers. They started in the mountainous areas inland of Arafo and Candelaria. This is the center of the island and surrounds the famous volcano Teide, Spain's highest peak and popular tourist attraction. 7,600 people have so far been evacuated or told to stay indoors. And that's just a map from NASA's fire information showing how the wildfires are centered inland. But then let's have a look at what has been proposed in Tenerife in March 2019, that Tenerife should become a smart island. And then an article from this year, May this year, again talks about Tenerife Smart Island, a smart tourist destination. So let's see what that entails. The goal is to transform the island of Tenerife into a smart tourist destination with integrated smart systems for safety and mobility. And the initiative aims to use technology as a means of transforming the island and making improvements not just to the quality of its tourist offer, but also to the quality of life of its citizens. So very interesting that Maui is not alone in this. Again, the fires themselves have, let's say, some questionable origin, as they did in Greece, but the fact that we're seeing the same blueprint play out in Tenerife does lead one to speculate that perhaps this has more to do with a campaign to enable the introduction of certain Agenda 2030 projects.
Yes, what's fascinating about this, the doctor alluded to some kind of strange energetic feeling that she had at the time. If you think about and this is speculative, of course, but if you think about the discussions about the effect of energy from the sun through a coronal mass ejection hitting satellites and so on and causing widespread outages of satellites, some people are talking about some form of directed energy being used in order to start these fires. Yeah. What fascinated about what she said was how widespread the electrical disruption was, which is why it made me think of the solar flare and the satellite system. So, I mean, obviously, we can't know what started the fires. As we already know, they have. The mainstream narrative seems to be climate change started the fires, but of course, climate change doesn't start fires. Something has to start the fire. And so, was it somebody with a match, or was it somebody playing with lasers? What was it?
Well, it's a good question, Mike. I'll just add to that, of course, Hawaii, a lot of experience of intense heat because many people out there have had to deal with the volcano eruption and the lava flows, and you can see many film clips of huge lava flows destroying roads and buildings and communities. So Hawaii has got a special experience of what to deal in a situation of fires, and yet this appears to have been so violent that it's caught many people by surprise. Somebody in the chat box has just said, burn back better, which is a little bit of a cynical response, but it gets us thinking, and it got me immediately thinking that in UK, there's been a spate of fires in pubs. So the public house has disappeared, allowing a housing development to take place. So strange things do go on when real estate is the subject. But what's caused it, some people are saying, well, could it actually be some form of a weapon? We just thought we would put this on screen. This is UK Ministry of Defence, and here's the headline: Making Science Fiction a Reality, Future Directed Energy Weapons. And if we just have a look at a little bit more detail here, it says directed energy weapons are systems capable of discrete target selection that emit laser or radio frequency energy as the primary means to cause disruptive, damaging, or destructive effects on equipment or facilities. Now, obviously, in this particular advert by the Ministry of Defence, they're particularly talking about relatively small-scale systems, particularly to be designed to fit on board ships or even vehicles. But nonetheless, we're getting the evidence that these sorts of systems do exist, and actually they've been trialled and have been very successful. If I just bring in a little bit more, this is MBDA, which is a conglomerate company. The Ministry of Defence is working with this, but this is giving us a bit more detail about what it's calling sovereign laser-directed energy weapons. And it's really very upbeat at the success of the weapons themselves, but they're looking for greater, greater ability to track vehicles and focus in order to destroy smaller targets. So we can't say that any form of weapon has been used to start these fires, but if people think that energy weapons are something out of pure science fiction, they clearly aren't. And in my opinion, there's no doubt that the Russians in particular are very advanced in this field, which is how they're destroying drones in Ukraine. But having said that, of course, well, I'm not going to suggest that this is the Russians, but I've no doubt the BBC would be happy to suggest that. So we don't know, but energy weapons are real.
You got any final thoughts on that, Vanessa?
No, I mean, I think Brian's absolutely right. And if you look at if you watch the rest of the video that we showed a clip of, they do go into this in some depth. I think, these days I don't rule anything out. Of course, we need proof, but they're capable of anything to push through their agenda right now. And we know that they're running behind, let's say, because people are seeing through their lies, their projects, their campaigns.
Yeah.
And so I think they are having to rush things through.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.